Dooby doo, dooby dooby doo. All right. Just me, or is everybody? Is my internet connection bad for y'all? I think it is, isn't it?
We hear you just fine, Drew. No glitchy, no cutout.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
I've not seen anybody's videos, or very few, I should say. Very weird.
You
One
want
of
to
these days, I'm gonna.
you want to log out and come back in real quick?
No, that's as long as everybody's hearing me. I don't think people need to actually see me, or I don't really need to see people.
Yeah,
All
no,
right, we're
we
talking.
we see you just fine, and we hear you just fine.
Really? Okay, yeah. Hold on, let me do that. Let me go in and come back out, or you know what I mean. I'll be right back, y'all.
There's something very funky with this labeling. I ran it under the tap and the whole thing just washed right off. You'll notice all your cans have a kind of a stripe down the side where it's missing. But it's a weird kind of, I don't know how they labeled it. If it's just ink on a metal can or.
No, it's
Mine
no,
wore
it's
off as I took it out of the fridge.
yeah, it's definitely a label. Jeremy said that these were going to be pandemic cans or pandemic labels, and so here we are.
These labels dissolve in water. You put it under the tap, it just washes away. Look at that.
Yep. So this is, as you can tell, a freshy fresh. This was being canned right when Gavin picked it up, or just before Gavin picked it up. And we decided we'd go with this just because it continues the theme of the American brown ales. Chris, this is 5.3%. So talking with Jeremy about this, remember last month we did the Janet's Brown, and I thought it'd be kind of fun for us to just do a comparison, right? Think about what you had with the Janet's Brown, think about what you had here. I'm still fighting to make brown ale the comeback beer of the year. Not that anybody's going to pay any goddamn attention to me. But I figured this would just be at least nice. And so let me look. Jeremy gave me a few notes here. Main thing here is 5.3%, and the hopping in this is Cascade, Centennial, and Autumn, right? Which is a Cascade adjacent hop. All old school hops. Interesting. It's got a lot of good coffee flavor to it. I'm getting a very kind of upfront hop nose, but also a little bit of that roast type character in there. So a little burnt coffee. It's pretty damn clear, and I like the fact that this is actually pale enough I can see my fingers through it. So very briskly carbonated. And it's funny because I mean, like it's not as like big and chewy. Yeah, it's not anywhere near as bitter as Janet's Brown, but remember, Janet's Brown is more like 7%, and it's a bigger, hoppier gizmo, right? So it's supposed to be a big, hoppy American brown. This one, I think, is much more in line with sort of, I don't want to say English brown ale, but a little bit more like like an English brown in terms of just its strength levels, right?
Well, for me, there's no comparison. The Janet's is by far, hands down, my absolute favorite. That beer is phenomenal, but it's not what I'd think of as a typical brown ale with the hops that were chosen. It's more of a fruity, kind of like a brown ale IPA.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yeah, and this one is, yeah, so I think Janet's Brown comes off as like, brown IPA, although richer and chewier. I think this one being 5.3 is more sessionable, and it doesn't coat the mouth in the same way like Janet's Brown does, right? Janet's Brown is really rich in comparison to this. This feels more like Janet's I could have a pint of, and then I'd have to go have something else before I came back to it. This feels like a beer that I could have a couple of pints of this in a row, And I think that's kind of a difference in the targeting.
Yeah, I think that nuttiness that the other one had, the Janet's, definitely gave a more full-bodied kind of feel.
It is tasty though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad that we had a chance to try this. Other thoughts here on Homebound? Y'all are being uncharacteristically quiet.
Reminiscent of a Anderson Valley Brown.
Oh yeah. God, I haven't had that one in years. Actually, the kind of the sad part is I can't think of the last time I had an Anderson Valley beer, except for maybe one of their fruited gozes from a couple years back. I just remember the story I used to tell people, like the first time I went down to Father's office before Sang bought it and turned it into a gastropub. Was sitting there and they had Hop Otten on tap, and people were like, "You got to be careful. That's really hoppy. It's really bitter. It's gonna blow your brains out." And at the time I tried it, and yeah, sure as hell. I mean, that was the hoppiest thing I've ever put in my mouth. Nowadays, I think the last time I went to visit Hop Otten was about like 10 years ago, and it was like, well, that's cute. It's not that hoppy anymore. Like, what has happened to us, America?
I always like Anderson Valley's Winter Solstice. I think that's a really nice Christmas beer.
Yeah, I do. Usually hits about right on the right level of vanilla, which I think is impressive and good. Right.
I think this beer is delicious. I would like to see what it tastes like with slightly lower carbonation. It's got that nice roastiness in the finish. I'm going to swirl it a while and let the CO2 settle out.
Well, and that's a good point, because actually I think one of the things interesting to me about this is we've had a number of the cans, in the happy hour where, like, I felt like there's a quarter of these cans that we've had where I wanted more carbonation to the beer, because I thought it would help it pop more. Like a couple of weeks back, we had, or I guess over a month now, it was one of the fruited sours that we had, and I was like, it desperately needed more carbonation, right? And I've seen some of these cans that we've had in these 4-packs without the right amount of carbonation in them. And Eagle Rock here definitely not having that problem. This beer has a good amount of fizz to it. And yeah, I mean, Gavin, to your point, I mean, that could be a good or a bad thing, depending upon what you want for a beer, or particularly this beer.
Well, actually, the reason I said that is because the finish sort of reminds me of some of the beers I would have in a pub in England, even though it's not a British, brown ale style. And I'm just curious.
Yeah, give it a go. I mean, if you have, there's the old brewer's trick of using an oral syringe, and what you could do is draw some of the beer up into the oral syringe and then use the syringe to jet beer back into the glass and knock out a bunch of carbonation. And when I started homebrewing back in the late 90s, that was a common trick people talked about online to sort of replicate cask ale carbonation and flavor without having to go and actually find a cask ale.
Well, this totally changes the mouthfeel. It really does.
All right. Well, here, let me go see if I can find my oral syringe then.
I'm getting a fair amount of resinous hops on the finish too. I mean, it took a few sips, but it's there.
What was that third hop he mentioned? I'd never heard of it before. It was Cascade, and it was something else.
I don't know if it's pronounced Ahtanum. It's Ahtanum. Yeah, there it is. Scott.
Tottenham.
Yeah, Ahtanum. I don't know. It's close to Cascade in profile. Maybe a little bit more fruity, less citrus.
All right. Here we go. So nice little syringe. I usually use this for measuring out acid additions. Let's see. Would be perfect if the cops walked in on me right now.
Make sure there's no residual acid in that syringe.
No, I clean it up pretty well. All right, so this is, well, it's about 7 milliliters of beer in a 10 milliliter syringe with everything else being foam. But let's see how this works. And now I feel like I'm John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. So you can see that pushed a lot of carbonation out. Give it a second. Oh wow, the nose is already softer. Like I get more flowery hop character than the big roast. And yeah, coffee is a standard part of American browns. I mean, it's not universal, but it is a thing that you can do. I mean, it's not uncommon. Let's put it that way. Okay, yeah, I agree with you, Gavin. That totally makes it feel richer.
Yeah, also, as it warms up a tiny bit too.
Yep. So there you guys go. Get yourself a little oral syringe, and you can replicate it. I agree. I agree with you, Gavin. I think it is. It feels richer. It feels more inviting, and it's a little less bitter. Although, I mean, the tongue still gets coated with some bitter hop oils in the back end, right? So, which is not a bad thing. It's just a thing to note. Has anybody else ever done that syringe trick, or is that your first time seeing that?
It's my first time seeing it, but it seems to me like once this is warmed up a little bit, it's improved. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad beer straight out of the fridge or straight out of the can, but I think letting it warm up so the malt expresses a little bit more, and then also making sure that you get that carbonation out of it, or a little bit of that carbonation out of there, I think actually helps make the beer feel fuller and richer. So, but yeah, that's part of the reason I keep those little syringes here in the brewery to do acid measurement, because I find it easier to measure out 10 milliliters of acid with that than, like trying to mess with some sort of beaker or measure it somehow else. And it works out pretty good.
Hey, Drew, I had a collection of syringes here, which I also use for acid additions. But I use it for measuring Frontline. You know what Frontline is? It's the tick stuff for dogs.
Yep. Yeah, don't mess that up.
I found out if you buy the big dog pack, it's the same price as the small dog pack, but it's 10 times the volume. So you could divide it up into 10 portions and save yourself a lot of money. So that's what I do. It measures down to the half a mil.
There you go. Hey, whatever works.
That stuff is expensive, man.
I know. Well, it's worse if you the little dog I had that I picked up and showed to the camera earlier today, Sam. He's allergic to Advantage and all those, so he has to get special anti-flea medicine that costs even more, because of course. So yeah, I get where you're trying to how you can save money on some of these dog products. Now here's a question. The last summer we did the whole ESB challenge, where we had people go and brew an ESB and do all the judging and all that sort of good stuff. Why don't we do that with a brown ale? Anybody game?
I'm game. It sounds good to me. Chris and I just brewed a English bitter, and it's similar to this. So that might be nice to try.
Okay, I think what the board should, the board and I will talk it through, and we'll put together some parameters, and we'll get that up and running. That way we can also, like, say in March, come back together and have those brown ales, and that'll be part of the club meeting, right?
Yeah. See, if you were president, you could push that through.
No, actually, the president has very little power. He doesn't get a vote. So All the president can do is yabber at people. Of course, I do that pretty well. So, but yes, no shush. All right. Other thoughts about the homebound?
I like it.
I would just say that I could drink. The thing is that I made the mistake of listening to Gavin earlier, and I wiped off the can because I was really curious about that, the label. So I actually don't remember the specifics of the ABV on it, but I could drink this shit for days. Like I could drink a lot of pints of it. So I really like it a lot.
Good. I mean, again, I mean, I think so. If you look at all the Nielsen numbers for sales and whatnot during the pandemic, the numbers have been showing that people who have been buying craft beer have been buying higher alcohol craft beer, right? So after all this talk that we've had about more sessionable beers, seltzers, all that sort of stuff, it turns out that during the middle of a pandemic, when everybody's locked at home, everybody's been buying double IPAs. And so, yeah, it's, I hope that we're going to be able to get back to a point where people are going to be like, hey, let's go ahead and let's have a sessionable beer. I've been trying to push session beers forever, but American craft beer still comes in at 7.5% on average, I think. So, no, ERB did not give me the grain bill. They did give me the hop list. And so what was it? It was Centennial, Cascade, and Autumn. But I think what I can do is I can ask Jeremy if he'd be willing to share the recipe with us, and we can use that as the basis for riffing on brown ales, right? And then I think otherwise, the other thing that we do also have to talk about is, after I just said that everybody's buying higher alcohol beer and wouldn't it be nice if people bought session beers, is Russian River did their whole announcement about Pliny the Younger, right? Where they're going to be selling cases of beer that include 4 cans of Pliny the Younger, and they're going to do all the announcement. They're going to do the announcement for that later this month. I think each case is going to be like around 120 some odd bucks with shipping. And it'll be 4 cans of the Younger, and then the other cans in the pack will be, basically other beers, other mixed beers. So what I'd imagine we would see some Blind Pig, some Elder, who knows what else we might see in there. Maybe like, what is it, Hill 2 Row 31 or whatever, Row 2 Hill 31, Happy Hops, etc. So we'll see what we get out of there. But what I would like to do is I'm going to put up a form and see how many people want to jump in with me and split some of this beer, and we can turn that into either a not happy hour tasting, but basically have our own Pliny the Younger day / night / oh my God, what the hell did we do to ourselves? And just real quick show of hands, how many of you would be willing to split up a couple of cases of this Pliny the Younger pack to then basically go, okay, good, let's have a tasting. All right. I'm going to put together a form. I will put that up on the website so that people can give their indication and interest. And behind the scenes, I will talk to Vinny once I have a sense of how many people would be in. Because again, I mean, if it's 120 for the case, and what a case is for, what do they typically ship? They typically ship 4 4-packs, right? In the case,
it's 12 in a case, Drew.
12 in a case. Okay, so it's a 3 4-packs. So yeah, it would be basically $40. Yeah.
This is your callback from Google.
But that would basically be then $40 per person.
But Drew, they're doing the cases. I believe it's 4 of the actual Pliny's.
No, I know.
Looking for.
I know. So what I'm saying is, if we were going to do that, sorry, you're right. So it'd be $30 per person if everybody was getting basically 1 of each of the cans, right?
Right. So each person would get 3 beers out of you'd have to divide it by 4 basically to get one of the Pliny's plus 2 additional beers.
So $120 for the case. Put me down for one.
One pack or one case?
One case.
All right. Well, let me. I'll put together the form. I'll get people to indicate your interest, and then I'll take that and I will talk to Vincenzo and see what if there's anything we can do to avoid the mad rush. All right.
Can I say something about the brown ale and in general? I feel like the brown ale style is probably a undersold style in general. And for me, I like a brown ale. We don't actually buy a lot of them because there's just not a lot of, there's not a lot of options. We just generally shop at Trader Joe's, Ralph's, Whole Foods, Vons, those kind of 4 stores. And we get a lot of options of a lot of good beers, but not brown ales. But I feel like a brown ale for me, it always brings me to like Big Bear or Aspen or Mammoth. It's like ski lodge type of beer. I really enjoy them. But I don't know about drinking a lot of them. The only beer I don't like is like a Saison, sorry, Drew, or like a really Belgian yeasty beer. But other than that, sours, stouts, IPAs, pilsners, lagers, the whole gamut we'll drink. But yeah, and as far as the pandemic is going, we've actually been drinking a lot of lighter IPAs, looking for, because we've been drinking more beers, I think. Like, every night we'll get the kids to bed and we'll watch one of our stupid shows on Netflix or something, and we'll share 2 or 3 beers, and we don't really want to drink 8% beers because we want to drink more of them. So
and be able to wake up okay in the morning.
Right, be able to wake up in the morning and get kids to school and whatnot. So we've been looking for a lot of the lighter IPAs, and it's hard to find, but Firestone does them really well. I know they're very commercial, but they have a lot of those 5.5 to 6.5% Luponic Distortions or single hop Nelsons. They do a lot of those good ones. And
what's their very light one? Flyjack? I haven't had that one.
Flyjack is their light hazy, but Easy Jack is their regular light IPA. It's phenomenal. It's such a great, it's that line between a session IPA and a hoppy pale ale, which we had on Friday. Their hoppy pale ale, which everyone kind of confuses the two, but they're delicious. So that's what we've been doing. A lot of those lighter IPAs. And
maybe we can get Matt back on to talk to us about making a beer like a Flyjack or an Easy Jack.
And I know Bruce Wilson and I also, I've seen him over at the Propagator. We talked to Jay Sanders, who's the general manager over at Propagator, who is a former Falcon or whatnot, and he knows a lot of the older guys. So we've been kind of talking to them about getting him in, but they don't really can. It's just too logistically difficult, and they're very commercial. So we understand how it goes, but maybe at some point in the next year, we get him in on one of these things and figure out a way to do it. Who knows?
Yeah, I've talked to the board about doing this, and the idea is basically that Firestone is a little bit bigger than a microbrew, and the club is kind of trying to support microbrews. So maybe at a later point they might do it, but right now they're still trying to buy from the local stuff, which I can understand. So
it's just, I mean, that's the kind of half the intent of the program, right? But yeah, I mean, I think what we can do is I think what we could possibly do is if we wanted to do somebody to come in and talk about like doing Easy Jack and Flyjack, how do you make a beer like that and make it really good? Because I've had a lot of terrible light IPAs. Then what we could probably do is do a club purchase, just like what we did with the Eagle Rock today or with the Janet's Brown last month. And then that way we can do that support too. And speaking of which, I think, what do we have upcoming, just so everybody knows? So like I said earlier, next week is Green Cheek. And then after that, we're bouncing around to a couple places. The Maltos Falcons Air Force is actually going to be active for one of these pickups, because Gavin is going to be flying to Hangar 24 to go pick up beer for us. And so, the Maltos Falcons Pony Keg Express is taking to the air. We also have, I think, coming up, Long Beach Beer Lab, Lincoln, the brewery / offshoot, and I'm missing somebody.
Draconum.
There you go, Draconum up in Santa Clarita. Yep. or where? No, they're in Newhall, right?
Newhall.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, if there's any interest in doing Old Stump, hell, I'll drive out there with my pickup and pick all the stuff up.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we should throw them onto the list. I haven't had their beers yet, so one of the rules that we do tend to try and follow for this is, since we don't want people going spending their money on shitty beer, we do try and make sure that at least somebody vouches for them. So if you vouch for them, great. Yeah, Nico, absolutely. So give me your suggestions, and we'll get them into the list to be able to look at. Right. All right. Well, that's all of my organized content. So it sounds like out of this, I'm going to go set up a forum for everybody to talk about Russian River. I'm also going to set up some details about doing a brown ale taste off, and then we will go from there. Anybody got anything else, or I'm just going to turn this into mass mayhem and let you all talk amongst yourselves?
No, thanks everybody. It was a great meeting.
I just wanted to talk about next week's happy hour, Drew. So far, I think all the orders, everybody has signed on for the $10 add-on.
Well, I did a split order. I bought one.
You did a split one.
Yeah, I'm the weirdo. I only wanted one can of the mocha because I think otherwise I'm gonna die.
Are we actually gonna taste the fifth one on Friday, or is it just an extra?
I know you assholes. You're gonna taste the fifth one. You're gonna want to taste the fifth one.
Well, Evan.
Oh hell yes.
Yeah, Evan can only be on for the first hour, so we need to sort of pump him for questions in the first hour if we can.
5 beers, 1 hour. Perfect.
Will he be the only person from the brewery on the call?
We're not sure at this point, but he's a pretty hands-on guy. He's the head brewer. He's the owner. He does everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, Green Cheek is not a very big brewery. Not a very big space. Like you could easily throw a wiffle ball from one side of the brewery to the other.
Well, they just opened up a new place in Costa Mesa, though.
Yeah, but so it's funny to me. Like Evan has a habit of taking over old breweries. So because Green Cheek in Orange, the original location was formerly Valiant, which you may remember because they had a lot of fleur-de-lis image on their bottles. And then the Costa Mesa location, Green Cheek 2, the TOO, used to be Barley Forge. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious to know if he's actually if he's brewing out of the old Barley Forge location, or if it's just serving as a tap room, because the Barley Forge location was big.
At the moment, it's just orange. You're just brewing in orange.
Yeah. Because Gavin, maybe you can help me out here. I mean, like, to my mind, my recollection is that the orange space is much smaller than the Costa Mesa space.
I've never been there. I've never been to the brewery. I know their beers very well from Barbara's at the brewery. It was one of their accounts. But just another bit of information. It's possible the pickup will not be till Thursday because one of the beers we're having is actually being canned on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I think isn't the mocha the mocha's like brand new, right?
Mocha's brand new. The Kolsch is actually going to be even brand new because it's being canned on Wednesday. Yep. Evan is very, very passionate about having fresh hoppy beer, especially his IPAs, and he was so apologetic that the two IPAs we're having, one hazy and one regular one, are actually a week old. He wanted to postpone it by a week. They're having some changes in the brewery this week, so their canning schedule got disrupted. But all the beers we're having, at least the two hoppy ones that have been brewed this week, 2 of them are being brewed next week, and one of them which is a higher alcohol beer, I think was like a couple of weeks old, but it's all incredibly recent beer.
Yeah, and I think we are the first to we're going to be the first people to be able to taste the Mocha Mocha.
Yeah, that's correct. They normally bottle it, but they're actually canning it for the first time around. And it's really interesting. On their website, they're the only brewery I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but that actually, when you go to buy beers, it tells you what the canning date is right on the order for every single beer.
There you go. Well, and again, because I mean, Evan made his reputation on IPAs. Right, that was his big thing, and particularly with the amount of the amount of hoppy beers that he does and the amount of hops that go in them now and how important the freshness is on them. The fact that he's out there really pushing his dates is really cool.
He told me that he likes to have everything in his tap room be no more than 1 week old.
That's
when it comes to floppy brews.
That's just bananas. By the way, somebody asked earlier if we had the double dry hopped Russian River Pliny the Elder that's based off of P4P. I haven't had the newest batches, but Vinny had told me that they were just going straight out and to redo it because P4P was so popular that they didn't figure it was it didn't make much sense for them to hold it for just the presidential election years. But I just had my last can of Pliny for President, the one that I got on November 1st, but had been canned on Halloween. And it was actually really amazing. Even after that 2+ months, sitting over here in my chest freezer, it still tasted excellent. And so it was really good to see. So I'm really looking forward to see if Pliny the Elder double dry hopped is going to be a regular thing now.
Well, Vinny's TPO, total package oxygen, even for his cans, is like 1/10 of the industry standard. It's amazing.
Well, Vinny's insane in a good way. All right. Well, boys and girls, I'm going to let you all talk. I got to go. Somebody's coming to go buy a bed frame for me.
Hey, can we get update on Doug King? Because that didn't get answered earlier.
Yeah. Well, do we still have Eric on the line? Or did Eric? Yeah, Eric's over there. I do know the entries were supposed to be originally due by the 22nd of January. Dana is still still clearing up the competition website and it hasn't been finished yet. But look, because of that, we may want to push the dates back a little bit. I mean, it's not like we're tied to a physical location to do all this, right?
Yeah.
Ed,
Agreed.
you're here now.
Yeah, when Dana gets the website ready, we can actually start putting it up and sending people to it.
All right, but yeah, so
everything's waiting on the website right now.
Are we registered with the BJCP and all that?
We are registered with the BJCP, and they're pointing at a website that we can't get to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, got a 404 on that one.
All right. Well, I'll double check with Dana and see where there is. All right. Okay. Anything else?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Hmm?
I was just a little unclear on, because I was actually thinking about this yesterday when Jenna was talking about SCHF. Right now, is it like still potentially going, or is it canceled for now? Or
it is not canceled for now.
Okay.
They are still trying to get it going. Now, of course, there's still the big question about whether or not they'll be able to. However, what they are telling clubs that they can do is go reserve the campsites right now. So one of the questions for club members will be, even if the SCHF doesn't go forward with the festival itself, right? If the fest doesn't happen, we will still have campsites. And I know a number of people in the club, at least in the board, when we talked about this, were like, well, fuck it, I want to camp anyway, right? And so it may turn into sort of a big informal festival, just in people's campsites. So we'll see what happens there.
so we don't have to get the membership. What is the SCA?
No, California Homebrewers Association.
CHA, excuse me. So we don't get those now, but we get the campsites now, yeah?
Yeah, the club is going ahead and reserving the campsites as if everything is happening. If the festival itself doesn't happen, then the club still has the option to hold on to those campsites and potentially, just have people drive down to Temecula and hang out in campsites.
Also, Nikolai, you should be a CHA member anyways. And also, are you saying, Drew, that this could potentially be a weekend-long Dead Pallet Society?
Potentially. Now, of course,
we can look at trick or treating.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Ed's gonna be happy with the trick or treating.
Yeah. Now, of course, for me, how much I'll get involved depends upon whether or not I get vaccinated first. Because I love you all, but I got bad lungs.
Is the camping thing, is that going to be an all or nothing? In other words, let's say half the people still want to go and half the people don't, does the club have to decide it's all or nothing, or because
No,
we're probably going to want to go and just camp with people, and it's better for us if the SCHF doesn't happen, because we can't take our kids into the SCHF. So
Right.
if SCHF does happen, we probably won't go. But if it doesn't happen, then we will go to hang out with everyone.
No, I don't think it's an all or nothing thing. I think the club is reserving. Eric or Jenna, can you tell me? I think we're reserving 10 sites or something.
Oh, I was told 6, but I
6.
was going to
Fine.
call this afternoon because I realized I haven't done that yet. To book the sites online, you can't even book for that weekend specifically because they have it still reserved for SCHF. They're really supporting it, so hopefully something happens. And again, a lot of us have already said we'd like to camp regardless. There's wineries around, there's breweries around, there's things to do potentially.
Yep.
And again, just hanging out with each other would be fine too. Kind of fun since we haven't done that together in a while. So I'll let you know. At this point, I was thinking 6, but if we need to get more, like we averaged 6 the last several years.
I think let's keep it at 6 for now. If we have to, we cram more people on the site, and everybody better be vaccinated or be friends.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, and so I think regardless, if SCHF doesn't happen, I think we'll still hold on to the campsites. We'll need to take a look at like what the level of involvement is. Jen, I assume we have up to some level or up to some date to modify our reservations, right?
Usually it's to the day before for most California campgrounds I've been to. Because this is an event, it might be a little bit more, but I'll find out.
Okay, good. All right. Y'all, anybody else got anything big? Craig, I assume you want in on the Plenty of the Younger, right?
I'd like to, but also I'd like to let everybody know that next weekend I will be brewing a triple IPA. So while I'm interested in the Russian River Pliny, I'm going to have my own version available.
Of course you will.
And on what date will that be in the share fridge?
I'll put a 6-pack in there.
I better bring some weapons.
Yeah. Just remember, if you are one of the lucky ones who gets one of Craig's triple IPAs, make sure you put something good in the fridge. All right.
And could we end up testing to see if that's maybe a COVID vaccine as well, Craig?
Rock, paper, scissors. Or 1911s at 100 paces.
There you go. All right. Well, like I said, I'm going to let you all talk amongst yourselves. I do have to go set up for some other activities. But it's been great to meet with you all today. I'm glad that we had a good presentation with Brad, and I'm glad that you all had a chance to have the beer that came in. In the meanwhile, let's go have some fun brewing, right? It's like, again, during the pandemic, homebrewers got it pretty well set. So,
Drew, thanks for getting Brad in.
Yeah, thanks for putting the whole thing together, and thanks for arranging for the beer as well.
No worries. And guys, don't forget, we can always use ideas for who you want to hear from for the next meetings. So let me know. I know people.
I want to hear from our future president, Drew Beecham.
Yeah, no, he's an asshole. All right. Shut up. Give me topics. Love y'all.